It's August the 14th, 2024, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I am Jarazar, a WoW esports aficionado. Unfortunately, Big and Treesap Jake are not able to join us tonight. They're busy with work and IRL, but that's okay because I got three wonderful guests here with us tonight. I'm going to start actually from the left side of my screen here. Arms person, can you introduce yourself and speak about what you bring to the table?
Hey everybody. I'm Arms Person. I'm a developer at WoWArenaLogs.com, one of only two, actually. I have been playing WoW since it came out. I skipped only one expansion. I won't say which one. Uh, been PvPing pretty seriously since, honestly, only since like Shadowlands. Before that, it was just like a lot of world PvP and random BGs with the bros.
Nice. So, okay, two questions. One, why arms person? Where did that come from?
It's kind of a joke from Dark Age of Camelot, where there was
Oh,
like an
yeah.
armsman and armswoman,
Yep.
because you could play as, it was like a playable class, and when you picked one of the two genders, you got the name. So I picked arms person, but I was actually a mercenary, so like really it was confusing.
All right. And what was the impetus that turned you over from random BGs to pushing rating?
Yeah, I just like, honestly, I just like the feeling of being rated, like
Mhm.
where I have like an actual measurable at how much I'm improving, and it's just a much tighter experience. Where BGs I always just kind of thought were kind of like a clown fiesta, more or less. They're just so chaotic and crazy. And in arenas, I really feel like you have a lot of control over what's going on, and you can do a lot of analysis about what happened. Which, if you've ever been to the site, you might have guessed that we're pretty into.
Indeed. That's awesome. And yes, your site, by the way, I love it. Okay, I'm gonna go to the other side of my screen. Max, Johnny Maxo. Hey, what brings you to the table? What do you got?
Well, hello everyone. My name is Max. I'm the guy behind Murloc.io. I've been playing PvP, well, WoW since the beginning actually. Been doing some arena pretty seriously long time ago, like Burning Crusade. Been also organizing like big scale event like Raid on Capital, back on those day with over 100% on TeamSpeak, if I remember the name of the app.
Yeah.
Uh, about PvP for me, it was more like just love fighting with other people. After Burning Crusade, I never achieved like pretty significant like high rating like most of you guys. But still love jumping in and well, like real life event. So go back and forth on WoW. And every time I was going back to the game, I was checking what the best of the best were doing on the WoW
Mhm.
Armory, and that gave me the idea of Murloc.io.
Nice. And I have to admit, I appreciate because you also helped me out and put the podcast on your site there. But I regularly use your site in trying to figure out what the best players are using for their best in slots because I'm lazy and can't do all the work. So I appreciate that. And last but not least, okay, Winza.
Quinza. Yeah, that's right. So basically, I'm building the site you probably all know already. It's called Ceramate. It's and as it stands now, it's basically the fastest and the most convenient tool to track arena activity and character profiles. So I've been playing WoW since 2008, I think. It was patch 1.12 back in the days.
Wow.
Of course, on a private server, on a local private server, yes. And then I just moved to official service with the release of Wrath of the Lich King, and I've been playing basically as a priest, as a disc priest. Since season 5 basically, so it was basically just 100% arena games and climbing.
Wow. Okay. It, I'm going to say this kind of tongue in cheek, but isn't that being a bit of a masochist? Is playing Disc Priest ever since those early days? Because wasn't there some periods of time where Disc was not so great?
I mean, well, I guess it takes some kind of attachment to the spec, to stick with it through all these years.
Fair
But
enough.
the funniest thing is that I started as a warrior. When I really when I just first discovered World of Warcraft, I just created a Tauren warrior, named him XXL, and just started rolling. I really had no idea about like all these stats, all these basic mechanics. I was just like straight up having fun.
Yep. Just clap people with your
Yeah,
I feel that.
the
I
early
feel
days.
that. Wow. Okay. Well, hey, pleasure to have you all here. This is excellent. I can't wait to get into the actual subject analysis. But first, before we do that, we're going to do our need, greed, and pass, which Big Moran left for us before he was able to be here. So let's do this.
This likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh?
All right. So need, greed, and pass. As always, this is a scenario. It's going to have 3 options to it. We'll go around the table, and each person will tell of the options which one they'll need on, which one they'll agree on, which one they'll pass. As always, you can play live right now in Twitch chat, or if you're listening to this after the recording, you can always play from home by going to Discord or going to our Twitter or pretty much anywhere you can find us and let us know what your need, greed, and pass are. But in the meantime, let's get into this. So the scenario this turnaround is you are given a budget of $5,000 to market or improve your own service. You can spend this money one of 3 ways. You can develop an add-on that makes your service more accurate and more reliable. You can pay a top streamer to advertise your service for 3 months during an expansion release. Or you can hire a second developer to help fix the most annoying problems on the back end of your website. You know, the things that you just can't get around to doing yet. All right. So Arms, you look like you're about ready to jump in on this. So I'm going to throw it to you and see what your need, greed, pass are.
Okay, yeah, sure. I guess I'll go in reverse order here. My pass is going to be developing an add-on that makes your service more accurate because we already have one. And really all it does is just turn the combat log on and off because there's actually not a lot we can get out of add-ons to improve what we do because we're actually reading the combat logs directly and getting basically 100% of our information from there. So I'll pass on that guy. The greed one is a little bit harder. I think it's probably hiring a second developer, and that's my greed one because I'm not sure $5,000 is enough to improve our thing. It's honestly so complicated that it takes a long time to onboard new people, which is probably something we should work on at some point. We are open source. For any of you interested, you're welcome to contribute at any time. I don't have $5,000 to pay you. I'm sorry. But if there's anything you'd like to add, you are more than welcome to submit a pull request, and we would love to see new features. But our need is definitely paying a top streamer to advertise. Like our whole platform is just so much more fun when there's more people using it, and we don't have a marketing budget because we're not a business. We're just a community process. Like we do everything kind of grassroots. But I would definitely love streamers to use it and just get their feedback and kind of go from there.
All right. I like it. I feel you on every single one of those points. I do. I'm going to throw it to OK. What's your need, greed, and
Okay,
pass?
so basically for me, it would be similar to Arm's person choices actually, because I would also pass on the add-on simply because there is already WoW Arena logs, both add-on and the client application, which is awesome by the way. And I would need probably the developer option. I mean, it never hurts. And some really fresh workforce is always nice, even after all those onboarding procedures and stuff. And my great option would be, of course, the marketing budget, because I feel like for any project, the most crucial thing is distribution. So like it's really important to have enough resources to actually to let people know about your product and why is it great and why they should actually like switch or actually just start using it.
Fair. I feel that I remember when trying to get this podcast going and trying to get people to listen to it. It was, yeah, I feel that. All right, Max, what's your need, greet, and pass?
Well, I'm gonna start by the pass. Actually, I don't think I need another developer. Handling pretty much everything by myself, and it's working pretty well. The grid will be the add-on. I'm not really sure what I can do with that, but well, it's like in game. If you take something, if you can't take something, just take it. So it will be more like that. The need will be the marketing budget, because I mean, this is not a skill that I'm pretty good at. So having something that is complementary of what I don't have, and that helps the Murloc to be like well known, discovered by other people, will be like a huge plus for me, actually.
All right, that's interesting. So this is me being dumb in that I don't know exactly everything that the API produces from the Blizzard API, what you get for data. So my need would have been developing an add-on, because I would have assumed that you would have gotten all the more data that you actually need in order to get a proper fulsome database, considering my understanding of what the API gives is not a lot, right? Like you obviously have like some
that's
win
definitely
loses.
correct.
Yeah. So
the API does not give you a lot. And the hard problem with add-ons is not so much getting the data, it's getting people to give you the data.
Yeah.
touche. That's fair. That is fair.
Because that was like Ludus Labs. I'm sure you remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah, he collected, what is it, reflex data?
Yes.
And it's just like his sample was always pretty small, because it's really, really hard to get people to like go into their files and like upload a file to your site. Like even our client, like we don't have like millions of users to cover like half the WoW population and get like this super huge PvP data set, and ours does it all automatically.
Isn't there only like 5,000 PvPers anyways? No.
I'm not really sure. There definitely could be on some season.
All right, that was a bad joke.
It's nowhere near by then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was going to be my need for myself. I think my greed would be hiring a second developer, because I have a lot of great ideas, but I don't know how to do anything. So that's and pass. I'm going to pass on the top streamer, because I think I got it good enough that I can do that. So there you go. That's it's all tongue in cheek, but all right. Well, that's that. Again, if you're playing from home, you're playing live right now, by all means, tell us what you would do if you had a service and you wanted to improve it out of those three options. And in the meantime, we are going to get into the WoW PvP events that we know of coming up.
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
All right. So the events that we know of is we have Big Donny Cal's tournament. So this is over on the EU. We talked about Big Donny Cal before. He's a streamer. He's been trying to get some community events going, and so he has one scheduled for the 17th here. It's an invitational, although he's asking, I think it was based on people that are willing to come and play. So he does have a form, so you can sign up for it. It is 100,000 gold prize pool, and he's told everybody that they can only wear honor gear and a 4-piece tier set. So this is going to be interesting, because the honor gear is definitely a lower item level than full conquest set. So it's I'm kind of interested to see where this one goes. But that is, well, anyway, that's supposed to be happening, like I said, on the 17th, 8 p.m. I'm not sure which server he's on over there in the EU, but yeah, he's calling it the War Chiefs Arena. I'm going to have a link for that in the show notes. And my guild that I'm talking about, not my guild, but the guild I'm in, Notorious, over on Tichondrius North America, they have a twos tournament for gold, which I think the sign-up's closed tonight. So if you're listening tomorrow, you're kind of SOL on that. But it's going to be happening tomorrow on the 15th. And they're letting any team leaders the leaders of the guild are allowing non-guildies to participate this time around. So if you're listening live, and you're wondering, by all means, pop in our Discord. I'll see if I can get you a link over to the Discord server where they're taking signups for that. And yeah, that's about it that I know of. But anybody else know of any events? Let us know. We'll happily shout them out. And that's that as far as that segment. And we're just going to jump right here into the subject of analysis and talk about designing websites.
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
Yes. So making a WoW PvP website, I mean, you can't be that easy. It's not like I can just go to GoDaddy.com and make myself a website, right? Like this, there's some serious back-end development to this stuff. So why don't you guys run me through, I think, who's the most recent website that got made? I think, is it Ceramate that was the most recent?
I think Ceramate was the recent one. It's only turned 1 year in August, just a couple days ago.
Okay.
So
happy birthday.
No, actually, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
No worries. So what was that like? What did it take to make Ceramate from scratch?
Well, it was actually quite a task, actually, to say the least. But if you're talking about like some abstract, something like some ladder tracking site, because there is this huge gap, this huge difference, because it's if you want to simply display like ladder data just the way Blizzard API sends you the data, then then you could do it. Actually, you can do it yourself. You could do it on GoDaddy web host and stuff like that. It's really simple. But if you actually want to create like a complete and full-featured solution with character profiles, with all this. With all the data, with activities, and then in that case, the whole complexity goes way, like it skyrockets essentially. And in that case, you're gonna need like some kind of a serious server. And I wouldn't recommend the cloud because the costs might be unexpected. So like some bare metal servers, and then basically, actually, the second thing would be to find. A technical co-founder to just to offload basically some work to them, because the one of the reasons why Ceramate actually came to be is because I had basically three things. I had my own skills as a backend developer, and I have like some money basically to bootstrap the project, and I also had like a friend, my really good friend, who's doing all the front end work. And so I'm skilled in the back end, and he's skilled in the front end, and basically just the way we communicate and collaborate, it's basically allows for efficient and really speedy work. So that's also an important thing. Yeah.
Cool.
So,
all right. So that sounds simple but complicated at the same time. So
kind of, yeah.
I think the first part is you need to get a sugar daddy to pay for it. That's what I heard the number one thing.
Or Bitcoin.
Or Bitcoin. How about you, Max? Did you have to get a sugar daddy to get Murloc off the ground?
No, actually no. Murloc started. Actually, it was a side project when it started because I'm a backend developer. I've been working in Silicon Valley for like a couple of years, and during COVID, I was like, maybe it's the time to do my own thing. And I had a side project which was doing front end with one of the backend language I was using for backend. And at some point I was like, okay, I should do something that is cool to show the world that my stuff is cool. And actually the Murloc, I got this idea about Murloc, and it became the main project. And after it was a lot of time, I was spending like more than 12 hours per day, every day for like 3 months to build that thing.
Wow.
I went pretty hardcore on this. And yeah, mix of backend, front end, and also deal with Blizzard API. which is very, very unstable.
Oh yeah.
So
Really?
mostly, yeah, distressing. Yeah.
Okay. I want to put a pin in that because I'm really curious about the Blizzard API because I know that that's it's the crux. It's the rocky road that everything's built off of, and if it's crap, then you guys are kind of screwed, and I get that. But I remember, I just want to pull it back for a bit because I remember when me and you were first chatting, Max. I remember, I think it was right before Dragonflight, and they're redoing all the talent trees and everything, and you sounded like you're about to pull your hair out with how difficult it was to design and to show talent trees on your website. And,
Oh, yes.
did you do that all by, like, was that all your own, or is there like some place where you guys can go to like collaborate and get like some other code or something like that to help build a page?
Personally, I did that all of my own, and like the first iteration was super difficult because at that time there was the new talent and the Blizzard API was changing like the schema of all the data was made, which makes things pretty difficult, and things were breaking every week. So it was super, super hard at that time, and to the point where I had to do a system that is flexible enough to automatically get the data from the API, but also where I can like input by hand. And inputting by hand was like super time consuming.
Yeah, I remember you chatting with me about that. You're like, there's
yeah.
there were some expressives there. All right, now, Arms Person, for yours, because the WoW Arena Logs is completely different. Like, it's not.
Yeah.
So, how was developing that?
So it's been pretty interesting. You know, we've been running since the start of Shadowlands, and at the start of Shadowlands, I kind of had this prototype that I had been working on for a bit that was just web based, and you'd have to like upload your logs, kind of like Ludus Labs did, and it wasn't that nice. But then someone else posted their prototype that was like really, really similar, and it was kind of like the Spider-Man meme. Like, wait, what's going on here? We both built the same thing. Yeah. So like I started DMing him, and we were chatting, and we kind of just decided to combine forces. And he's the other developer on WoW Arena Logs. He's a u/a tiny little shell on Reddit. And from there, we kind of just decided, well, now that we have all this extra manpower, because there's two of us, let's like actually make an app that does like all the hard work for you of like uploading the logs and all that crap. So that's kind of where we started. And over the years, it's just evolved into the beast that it is now, with video recording and stats and all kinds of replay stuff. It's pretty wild. It's definitely been a lot more difficult than making just like a data website, but like effectively under the hood, it actually is a website that's loaded inside the app. It's just kind of not visible to the user. So like all of that is a web interface. There's just also this extra module that talks to like the system that you're on to do all the like file manipulation and stuff.
Cool. That's, sorry, it just kind of boggles my mind, the fact that it's an app that actually is a website inside of an app.
Yeah, like actually Discord works that way too. Like you can open the web inspector, and under the hood, it's all just like Chromium. It's all built on a platform called Electron, which basically lets you run a website as an application.
Huh. Today I learned. All right. Well, that makes it easier than if you know how to build a website and not an application. That's super smart. All right. Okay, sorry, my mind just got blown away there for a second. I'm gonna Blizzard API. All right, talk to me, guys. What does the Blizzard API do well?
Well, actually, that's quite a good question, because there's basically like it does well by the main thing that it does well is actually the fact that it actually exists. I mean, I would start with that, and it does contain like some basic data that basically allows us for any third-party website to actually exist to get some data. But I think as far as the official APIs goes, the Blizzard API leaves a lot to be desired, because there's two main issues. At least for me, after spending more than a year developing Ceramate, there's two constant issues. First is the data availability, because there is a lot of data that is simply missing from the official API. For example, you want the PvP item levels? Not found. It simply doesn't exist. You want PvP attributes, when you on Arena. Oh no, it doesn't have those. It only has PvE stuff, but nothing for PvP. And basically, you have to calculate all that stuff yourself, and it adds another layer of complexity for your project. And again, yes. And don't even get me started on the stability issues, because as far I've throughout my career, I worked a lot with a lot of APIs, and I think the Blizzard API is by far the most unstable thing that actually, one of the most unstable, I would say. Yes, because right here, I can open up my error log and the Sentry, and I could see at least a dozen API errors in the last 24 hours, and it's not because something is broken on Ceramate, on something else. It's purely because the API just randomly decides to break and die, and that's
I'm
it.
actually curious how you guys handle those. Is it something that eventually it comes back, or is it broken forever in some cases?
Well, we actually just handle most of the stuff just by actually retrying, or just using the previous data. It basically depends on operation, because if it's ladder API that's broken, then it's eventually going to get retried within a minute or so. And if it's some kind of profile that is missing, then basically let's say that basically we have a lot of stuff going on the profile. We have basic information, we have talents, we have gear, and so basically if the gear API gets broken for some reason, then basically if there is previous version of the talents, then it's going to be displayed. If not, well, only that section going to be broken and unavailable for some time. So yeah, actually I've put a really lot of effort into making Ceramate as reliable as possible. So we have a lot of asynchronous processing. Actually, almost all that we do is just asynchronous, with a lot of retries, with a lot of failovers and stuff like that. And the way we design the database is that when you actually open up the profile, even if some stuff is broken, only that small part is going to be causing troubles, while the rest of the stuff is still going to be displayed correctly. So yeah, that's basically how it works.
Max, is it the same for you for Murloc?
Yeah, the API is pretty unstable. Just to come back on your former question, what it does well actually is giving all those data, because there is a lot of things that are available and that allow us to do all this thing. So show that for that, actually. After, yeah, it's pretty unstable. It's like I'm praying every time there is a big patch, For example, yesterday there was a fix with the talent, and they did some stuff, and most of them update pretty good. But for example, the Arcane Mage, I don't have the new data for that. Another example is when the pre-patch release was 2 weeks ago. So they already included the hero talent inside.
Yep.
But the thing is the hero talent somewhat were misplaced into the specialization tree or the class tree. So to have it correctly in Murloc.io, I have to analyze the data, do some mechanisms to see, okay, what are the hero talent? Because it looks like the problem that I identified was with the hero talent, and just try to put some mechanism to try to what to say in English, to put back the data together in a manner that is exploitable.
Reconstitute?
Reconstitute, yeah.
Have you used the RaidBots stuff that gets published?
No.
I'll send you a link. You might find it very useful because he actually reads all the databases that have the talents and he bundles them into this JSON file that's like much easier to use. That's actually what we've been loading into WoW Arena Logs because like we basically don't touch the API except for people's achievements.
It almost sounds better to make your own add-on now.
Oh, it's much harder than you think to read the talent data inside the actual add-on interface. That is an entirely different animal.
That's fair. Oh man. Okay.
Yeah.
So
just to add another thing too, is like the way to fix the problem is like for Murloc it's also retrying because they fix stuff. But for instance, sometimes I post some. I don't post actually any issue anymore on the forum because it's like they don't read it. You know, it's like I've been posted stuff on the talent like back in the beginning of Dragonflight, and like months later, like nothing were done with it. So I don't know. I feel like dealing with the WoW API is like it's a little bit of. I'm wondering if they don't do that on purpose, like a natural selection, like the website who keep like grinding the API are the one who like
the one that
can do some stuff, and the one who don't make the effort like just stop. You know, it feels a little bit like that because sometimes I mean, as a programmer, I'm wondering. I've been designing some API before in my career, and I was like, how this thing can be that mess up, you know? So I'm really wondering. I'm really wondering that must be on purpose, you know? It's like feels like that.
That's just small indie company things, right? It's no. That's okay. So obviously there's some great things that it does. Obviously the API. I must say, maybe I'm wrong on this, but if WoW actually has the millions of players that they say they have, that everybody assumes that they have, is it not a miracle that the API actually works and only fails once in a while? Or
in the modern tech stack world, that's like not very good.
Yeah.
If they had billions of users and it was failing as much as it failed, I could maybe see that, but it's strange how often it fails.
Interesting.
Especially since most of their API responses is basically just a JSON dump. So they basically just dump JSON and then just serve it from their service. For most of their APIs, especially for leaderboards and stuff like that.
Okay.
Because
all right.
Yeah.
I just got schooled. I'm getting so educated today. I love this. I love this.
Yeah.
It feels like doing a puzzle, you know.
Yeah.
It's like you take the different endpoint and it's like you try to get the same data from different locations.
Oh, yeah.
And try to triangulate everything to be able to have like exploitable data. Yeah. It's like, for example, it's like I have like workers on the cloud who do all of that work. But Murloc is eating its own API from the data I cleaned, you know. Yeah.
Okay. So it's almost like you're taking all this data, moving it, and then creating your own API for your own website to actually function.
Yep. It is that. And also there is something you have to deal with the Warcraft API is like rate limiting. Because a lot of like websites like us are using that. So the rate limiting is, in my opinion, like pretty aggressive because WoW have a lot of data that you need, especially when you have to, as I said before, like do that puzzle. You have to get the data for a lot of things in different location in the API. And like I think the threshold is like 40,000 or 45,000 requests per hour. Yeah. But it's pretty low.
Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty low for like the amount of data that we need to do this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So kind of have to trick and play with the rate limiting, which is like pretty it's a challenge, in my opinion.
And
Okay.
that's where all the caching came to the rescue. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, basically, I actually agree. Like having being rate limited by like only 10 requests per second is actually a bit of frustrating sometimes. Like for example, like the Ceramate database contains data for at least over 1 million characters already in just 1 year, and it takes around 2 weeks to actually to update data for each character via API by just
Really?
constantly just like doing stuff on the back in the background, like yeah. So it's around like 1.5 and up to 2 weeks basically to update for like 1 million.
Wow.
So yeah,
Okay.
yeah. But
Yeah.
another like important point is that actually because of the fact that Blizzard API is so limited, it basically it puts like really enormous pressure on on all those third-party developers, and because most of the stuff basically that you could see on other side, it's on any other site like Ceramate or just Murloc.io or just Warframe Logs is that added value, a lot of it added value on top of those very limited, very basic API responses. So it really like it takes a lot of work, a lot of efforts to, just like Max said, to actually triangulate something, stuff to constitute, to bundle everything together, and then calculate on top of that. So in some areas, it's actually no surprise to find stuff that is basically calculated on top of other stuff that is calculated on top of other stuff, then and so on and so forth, until like on some basic level, it all comes from the Blizzard API. So yeah, this is a lot of stuff, a lot of processing and triangulating.
Yeah, that's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
So the servers and everything are just chunking away daily, just trying to clean up the data and making it work for you for what you need it to do.
Yeah.
So that means like there must be a lot of assumptions there that you're having to design on as well, right? Or like, is there assumptions on the data that you guys are cleaning up, or is it all just use the data as it is, triangulate the best you can?
There's no documentation that I'm aware of. So anything that's there, I think you're just assuming it is what it says it is.
Yeah, it's really the computation is really basic, and like for example, we try to make the PvP attributes work on Ceramate, and we can't make it work partially. I think at the moment it's only mastery values that's kind of inaccurate, and when I was like trying to figure out like and to match the values that I'm getting like on Ceramate with my in-game values, it was actually like really surprising to see just how much undocumented stuff like there are. Like for example, the tooltip says that that your stamina is increased by 15% from trinket bonus, but in fact like it's actually 20% for like every spec and every like in every role. Basically, yeah, because it's only it was only way for like to get the data like to actually to match up, and there is a lot of stuff, yeah. So it was really like really tedious to make all the stuff like match up, and it's all over the place.
There is a lot of things that we have to figure out by ourselves.
Yeah, I believe
Yeah.
I believe it.
Plus, I have the feelings like you cannot also. I mean, people might think, oh, maybe these guys are just developing the stuff and less playing the game, but it's like you have to play the game a lot to figure out like what is right, what is not right, So.
And actually,
Yeah.
I want to peel this one over arms because under WoW Arena logs, if the API isn't giving you proper PvP item levels, I'm assuming it's not giving you actual like all the PvP tuning and all that. Like I know that's in the database that they rip from the game.
Yeah,
but
so that's where we're fortunate that we don't use the API.
Yeah.
The only thing we really use it for is showing achievements. Everything else is actually recorded directly in the combat log.
Okay.
So like when you start an arena match, it actually writes down all of your equipment that you're wearing and every talent that you've chosen and like a whole bunch of other stuff into the combat log to like describe all the players. So like the stuff we're showing is actually what happened in that match. It's not what the WoW API is giving us on that day. It's actually what you were wearing that day, which makes it. I mean, it's like a double-edged sword, right? Because we had a very similar problem when Shadowlands rolled over to Dragonflight. Like all the whole talent structure inside of those messages changed, and we had to redo everything. Which is, it's not going to happen quite as badly this go around, but we're basically just subject to a different API. It's like the combat log API, but it almost never changes. One positive I will say, as we've been kind of shitting on them for a while, they fixed a bug that I've been reporting for like 4 years now, which is that in the combat log, it like reports the time that everything happens. So it's like, month, day, hour, minute, second, etc. But until the War Within beta, it was missing the year, which means that we would have to read the system clock to try to get the year and stitch that into all the timestamps. It was such a huge pain when you would have matches that rolled over on the last day of the year to the first day of the next year. There were so many bugs that could happen, and like matches would be a year off in their time. It was such a mess. But you've added year, Blizzard. Very, very good. This is a great success for me. It's going to save me a lot of heartache.
That's crazy. So the WoW the combat log, does it use UTC then? Like, does it use internet time or?
No, it reports your system clock time.
Yeah.
And yeah,
Oh
and
my
this is the first
God.
time that they've added year and the time zone that you're in to those timestamps, so that I could figure them out without having to get them from somewhere else.
Oh my gosh. Okay, that sounds painful. That's yeah. Good on you, Blizzard, for putting in the 2-digit year. That's awesome. That's is it 2-digit or 4-digit?
Oh no, it's a 4-digit year.
Wow. Okay. All right. So we won't have to worry about Y2K. All right. That's good.
That's nice.
Okay. WoW API. What's, if I can just ask you, what's one thing that you would say, the one thing you wish it was there? Max, what's something that's missing that you wish was there?
Sure. For example, maybe more precision, like when you get the talent data, for example, and there is the same talent for different specialization, you're gonna have the same description, which is like for one of the specialization, like I would say more precision. I would love that there is a rating somewhat for raids, because this is the only thing that prevents me to make a raid section in Murloc.io. I had some idea, like maybe I could like calculate like kind of rating by myself. But the thing is, like the red leaderboard doesn't show like the current season. It's a Hall of Fame of the previous season. So I cannot even like try to generate like a rating so I can do a red section. So yeah, maybe a red section, red rating that is actually on the current season. That would be great.
Like a raid MMR almost, or like a okay. Okay. Winston, which one? What's one thing you'd like to see?
Actually, like my wish list is, I would say, consists only like of 2 points. First is is the match history for each character, like not of what we have today, which is actually nothing. But the detailed information like of each of every match obtained through official means would be actually huge. And the second thing is to the currently active character API. So basically, when the user is logged in and it's it's like the user is playing like some character, then it would be really great like if there would be a way like to expose like which character is currently active, because these two things combined could allow like for some really creative tools to come up.
Okay.
And yeah, it's that would be really valuable and great additions, because the thing is, like, if you remember the OG Armory, Wolf Armory, like from 2010, you would be surprised like to see that everything was there basically
Yeah.
back in the days.
Yeah, I
Like
remember.
the match history, the detailed match data, like healing done, damage done, everything was there. But then at some point it was just simply removed, and that's unlucky.
Yeah.
Something a request that I often get for Murloc actually is if I can show the different composition of teams. I think that this is something they used to have like back in Burning Crusade, or later. I don't remember when they released the WoW API, but under Armory you could see like what was the composition. But I think it's more related to the way they're handling Arena, because before you had to properly create a team.
Yeah.
So everything was indexed about what character there is inside. Now you're just like teaming with anyone, so that makes
Yeah.
things way more hard to do this kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's when they changed that, exactly. When they moved from the team concept to the personal rating, and they revamped everything. Now, Arms, I know you only care about the achievements that come out of the API, but is there anything that you'd like them to do?
Yeah, I mean, so I say we only care about the achievements. There's actually stuff we just read the databases to get.
Okay.
And specifically like spell icons and cooldown information, like how many charges they have, what talents improve them, all that kind of stuff. If that was just in the API in some easy to digest form, that would be awesome. Like right now, the way you have to get those, if you want accurate data, like for every single spell ID, you have to read it from the database. Like there's just no way that you're going to get a complete set without doing that. It's really annoying.
Okay. All right. Yeah. I just realized that I just asked you a question that basically was what's the one thing you would change that I'm going to ask you later, but it's okay.
I'm pretty sure I'll have another one.
All right, good. Okay, one last couple, well, actually a few other. So you guys aren't the only website out there. There's obviously a large number of people that have made sites trying to kind of clamor for the exposure and get the few players out there that play PvP that actually want to go to websites and use your information. Just kind of how competitive is the PvP website community? Like, how is it cutthroat out there? Is this like, obviously I think we're joking behind before the show started that this is like a passion project. There's no way you guys are making any money off of doing this. But I'm just like, is that how honestly I have to? I know I'm kind of asking a bit of your business, but how true is that? Like, is this being a passion project, and then also like how cutthroat it is based on the limited number of players that PvP in a competitive enough style that be wanting to use a site?
Well,
yeah, go ahead.
I can start. Okay, so basically, I would say that it's true that it's like all these projects were born like from passion. So, but it still doesn't cancel the fact that they like some of those projects could be monetized. But as we all know, like the WoW PvP, actually, like it's really the market is kind of thin. Actually, if you compare it even to like PvP people, so and the amount of sites for PvP, like yeah, it's a bit too much. I would say it's quite competitive because we already have like at least three like decent sites for PvP. We have Druswar, we have Czech PvP, we have Ceramate, we have like a bunch of others. And so yeah, it's actually pretty competitive. And basically, when I started Ceramate, and to really stand out, I really decided to put everything that I could into into like crafting the best UI and the best UX possible, so that everything could look clean, and work fast, and so that basically it could be on some like the basic subconscious level, so it would be like really kind of pleasant to interact with. And I think to make your site stand out, I would say that's the first thing you should really care about is UI and user experience to make everything like smooth, clean, fast, and everything. So yeah.
And I appreciate that. Like I know how
No, thank you.
how annoying it is when I go to click on a site and it's like, we're then the site uploads, and half the worrying is all the banners and everything showing up as well. But I understand that's to pay the bills, so be it.
Yeah, man, banners actually they really decimate your user experience, and that's why I really don't want to put them in Ceramate.
I don't blame you. It's
Yeah.
I literally feel pain in my eyeballs whenever I go to Wowhead. Just saying.
Yeah.
Max,
Yeah.
how about, because your site's a little bit different. Like you're not just getting the ladder data, if you will, right? But do you feel like yours is enough difference that you don't have as much competition compared to the other sites, or do you feel like you're in the same ring boxing it out?
Oh, excuse me. The question is for me or Arms?
Yeah, that's for you, Max. Sorry.
Okay. Sorry.
No.
Yes. So the thing is like the way I started with Murloc, I kind of like I just wanted to show something that is simple and cool to see. That was my goal at the beginning. Something that first doesn't look like a website. I mean, if you look Murloc, it looks like more like an app actually. And the goal was to I wanted to create something that is not conventional website and where you could like get this kind of info like in 3-click. So that was my main goal at the beginning. A difficulty that I found, but was not really a difficulty, is like when I release it, I release on Reddit, and it's like the thing is like WoW player are kind of attached and emotional to the tool they are using. It's like when I released Murloc, I got compared a few times by to, I think at the time it was the Loot District. They were doing something similar apparently, but not that similar, but got compared to that. And some people say, "Hey, Loot District look better." Some people just like the newcomer who was me. And at that time, I felt that there was like some competition, but I was like more like, I don't care. I just want to do something that I'd like to use, and the market is enough big for everyone to be able to shine. It's like if you get stopped because some people say, "Oh, someone have already did something or did something similar," you don't do anything. So it's more a question of, yeah, it's a passion project. You want to do something, just go for it, and you see how the audience react. So yeah, for Murloc, it was I want to propose something a bit different, something easy to use. From the feedback I have, it looks like I'm doing not bad with that. Probably some stuff to improve. But then I kind of see some people who say, "Oh, I want to do like Murloc, but improve on the interface," and then, well, kind of see that it's kind of a copycat, but the execution is pretty good. So when I think one of the example I got is I think it was WoW Valor .app. And when the guy released that, I was like, this looks pretty much like Murloc, but oh damn, the UI is pretty good. So you can like, okay, you got inspired by me. I'm gonna take a little bit what I like on your website and integrate to mine. And it's like competition is something good. It's like it puts some fire behind you. It's like if I don't move my ass, someone's gonna take that spot. And I think it's pretty healthy to have like competition to push the envelope forward. But I mean, it's like that with everything. You can see it for WoW. It's like during COVID, it got pretty threatened by Final Fantasy 14, and look all the good stuff we have in Dragonflight right now.
Yep.
So it's
Not
it's
wrong.
it's competitive, but it's doable. It's like if you have passion, if you want to put the time, it's doable. So
Sorry, one question. Is there a lot of copycatting? Like, is there a lot of like people going into people's websites and copy and pasting into their own to make stuff?
so far, I think I saw two. I had the feeling that the new one, Archon.gg, was a bit inspired. Their
Inspire.
data come from other sources.
Okay.
So at the end, the product is pretty different. But the way they present things, I feel like a little bit. But I will not say they are a copycat though.
Okay.
I've got like two copycat, I think, and Wolveler in particular, like really impressed me in the way they executed that shootout to them actually.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's some good sportsmanship. I like it. It's
Yeah.
By the way,
Yeah.
yeah, one thing that I would really like to add about Morlock, basically as a kind of user, it's not only like like the project actually does and provides like some kind of, I would say, unique value, especially like unlike those like leaderboards or profiles projects, but it also appeals to both PvP and PvE audience. And basically, as a creator, that's kind of the dream position that you could be in actually. So it's really great.
Sure.
Yeah. So the thing is, like, since Morlock is based on ratings, when they release like the Mythic Plus rating, I it's an opportunity to do something with that. So, but yeah, and that was pretty welcome when they did that actually.
Cool.
And the front end was written in Go. Actually, that's insane.
Yeah, everything is in Go in there.
It's awesome. Arms, do you feel any competition?
We've actually had one or two competitors crop up over the years. They just didn't really do a very good job. So that
Touche.
it's a little bit sad, but also I think our biggest competitor did something adjacent to what we were doing, and that's of course Squad OV. Like I don't know how many of you guys remember, they like basically made VODs, you could share
Yep.
them, all that stuff, the whole 9 yards. Was really cool. That was not something we were doing at the time, but I always assumed that eventually they were going to start like reading the combat log and like showing replays and rolling up stats and all that stuff, but they went out of business, which is unfortunate. And in that time, we've pivoted into doing the easy side of that business, which is recording the videos. So you can, in WoW Arena Logs, you can record all your arena matches to local disk using like an OBS library, but you can't share them. That is actually something one of our sister projects, Warcraft Recorder, has started working on, but you have to pay for it.
Yes.
Because I don't think there's any way to offer that for free, even for a little while.
No.
So that would be, I think, the only area we would look into that there's like, I know there's interest in, but like we have not had the time to commit to it, and it would also require us to build some way to bill people, which we don't have either.
That's fair. That's yeah. And billing turns into a whole other issue. I can't even imagine.
We also have like a weird secondary problem. Sorry to cut you off.
That's right.
The more clones we have of our system, the worse they all are. Because
Really?
like we're all submitting matches to the WoW Arena Log server, so you can see that like big match history and like search for everybody's matches. But if everyone had like their own version, they would be going to different spots, and there's not like a roll-up API where you could see a match history for everyone. So like that kind of like search and exploration experience gets a little bit degraded. So it would be kind of a bummer if there were 5 of us. We would each have like 1/5 of all the PvP matches, and the roll-up data wouldn't be nearly as nice.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I can't help but think with all of the roll-up data you have at WAL that you must have some pretty juicy data on actual participation, actual damage data, how well characters are doing for healing, for damage mitigation, for actual damage output. Like
Yeah,
you must have some
we
pretty juicy
definitely
data.
do. It's been pretty interesting to roll some of that up. It is much harder to parse than anyone really understands. Like after trying some of those projects, like I understand a little bit more about why Blizzard has a hard time balancing some of that because like boy, that combat log is not that easy to make sense of at the end of the day. Like you can go into our app and look at details and look at like the end of the arena screen and like all three of them will have different numbers for how much damage you did. Because everyone is interpreting that combat log a little bit differently. So like once you start to do that, like the more differences you have, those only add as you aggregate the stats, and like those are just going to skew your numbers even worse. So if like you're doing a dumb thing like details is and counting void shift as damage, maybe your numbers don't look quite right when you start rolling those up. Maybe you turn that balance knob the wrong direction. It's very challenging.
They count void shift as damage?
Yeah, because it is damage in the combat log. It's just not. It's damage you did to yourself.
Okay. Yep. Okay. I'm not even. I don't even know what to say now. Oh my goodness. I never look at I've never looked at a combat log, so I have no idea. But that makes somewhat sense. How does an arms warrior when they're in defensive stance? How does it calculate the damage reduction then? Or does it just like
so you just get
taken?
the actual damage done.
Okay.
Like I don't know that he was in defensive stance. So in the combat log there would be like the arms warrior went into defensive stance, and then later on the arms warrior left defensive stance, and in the middle the damage numbers would just be lower. It wouldn't say like this is 10% lower because of defensive stance. It's just 10% lower. You have no idea why. Like that's on you to figure out, which is also the reason that Aug Evoker logs are so hard to parse, because now you're trying to track when you had and didn't have Ebb and Might and like back all those out, and like it's crazy. We tried to do it at a WoW Arena logs, and it's still in there, the code that attempts to do it, but it's not it's not very simple.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh. Okay.
By the way, what I think is basically for Warframe logs, basically for what it offers, like in terms of features, in terms of all this, where like log parsing and stuff. I think like the whole application is extremely undervalued, like really.
Thank you. I think so too.
When I was building this episode, actually, I was talking with Big Moran. He was saying how he uses WAL for a lot of his work in designing skill cap videos and stuff like that.
That's awesome to hear. Yeah, I wish he was on. Actually, I would have loved to chat with him about what they're doing over there with WoW Arena logs.
Yeah,
I think like the dream for me would be to get like some kind of AWC integration where we got like the combat logs and we could like actually show the matches. Like that would be so sick. But I have no contacts. Like they're not reaching out to me, and I don't have any contacts into them. So if anyone knows anyone who can get that to happen, we'd love to do it.
Okay. All right. I might know a person. We'll see. No, Adrian Healy-Stat. He's the go-to person I would contact there. But I'll see. I'll message you after this and see if I can point you in some directions.
Sounds good.
One last question, and this one I want to go back to the teaser I put in about the dig I had about banners and that, and how much I hate them on Wowhead. I noticed like a lot of sites like to use, they're basically fronts for boosters, right? Like I remember, I think ArenaMate was originally a boosting site.
Here we go.
Yeah. Which actually, it then actually ended up, did they not actually sponsor a team for AWC, I think? But Blazing Boost and all that other stuff. How often are you guys often get propositions from boosting sites to advertise and like to use you guys as a front to try to as a boot for boosting, or is that just like a benign thing that happens to the side because these sites these people decide to use a site on their develop a site on their own is basically a front for that.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead. Okay.
yeah, okay, I can roll. Basically, I would say like it's one thing when like a website is basically really just a cover up for actually for some boosting website, but it's again it's another thing entirely when you some really good quality like website is actually being kind of affiliated or kind of sponsored by a boosting website. And I think like maybe some of you know, like with Ceramate, we actually had some kind of partnership going on with a boosting website in the past few months. And what I think personally is that based on my feedback, like as a user, as a developer, and well, basically what people think, like 95% they don't really care, like because like the ads are really subtle. Is basically just one like extra item in the main menu, which actually just fine for UX totally. No, yes, but there is still going to be that like fraction of community of content creators that are kind of directly sponsored or affiliated with Blizzard, and they might not be so inclined to interact with your project as long as you have like some kind of like boosting ads on your site or something, just because like they really prefer to stay on the good side of Blizzard, and they will do anything about that. So to put it to sum it up, basically, I think that the boosting the boosting market is well, they have the biggest marketing budget in our kind of area of work, like so basically if a project managed to, especially if young or if new project manages to land a kind of decent partnership with any of those, then it would be really easy for them to basically to cover every all their operation costs just like that. So it's instead of just going all like the long way, like with Patreon subscriptions, with all this like merch or just banner ads and stuff like that. So yeah, but like I said, it's kind of a double-edged sword. So you have to really think about it, because on the other side, you might get kind of excluded some sites, some subreddits, something like that.
Yep. Become the black sheep. So
Well, kind of. So it's going to be it might really limit your kind of your reach, and your distribution might suffer as a result.
fair. Max, did you ever have a worry about that?
Yes. So when I started, to monetize Murloc, at the beginning, I was using Google AdSense, which is most of the website use. And the thing is, like in Google AdSense, like the quality of the ad are pretty low actually, and you get a lot of like those company who post display ads about boosting. But I mean, at the time, I could not do anything about that. So you could see some like standard AdSense ad will come on Murloc. Later on, I changed, and looks like I don't see I didn't see ads about boosting for a long time. But who knows? Maybe some can slip sometime. I couldn't know. I got one time. No, actually, it happened like 2 times. A guy contacted me on Discord and asked me if I wanted to put their ad and redirect to their website about boosting, and I just replied that I was not interested. And I've got some tentative on Discord where these people post message on the thread, but I ban immediately when I see it. Actually,
Interesting.
yeah.
Hey,
It's like it's
what's
not
the
I have
reasoning? What's the reasoning there? I'm just kind of curious.
the reasoning about that is like Murloc is about getting the data from the game, and it's kind of like you try to figure out by yourself. You know, it's like you're digging into the website, and And it's like the principle is like you try to find the info. You have to, even if Murloc give you like some good insight, there is still some work to do a little bit by yourself to try to figure out what works. And I really like that idea. Boosting kind of go against that because you ask other player to play for you, and I don't really like that idea personally. I think it's good to have some stuff that help you, but not someone who do the job for you. I feel more comfortable with that kind of like way of playing. So it's just like personal view of the game. So that's why I prefer to avoid. But I mean, people do whatever they want with their money and stuff. So I'm no one to judge that. It's just I prefer to avoid.
No, fair. How about you, Arms? How many boosters have tried to use your site?
Exactly 0. Maybe we're not popular enough for the boosters to come to us. I don't know. I mean, we've always been kind of, in the same way, philosophically oriented toward self-improvement. And I think serving ads for boosting is definitely against that for us, at least. I guess like on a side note too, I think serving ads in like an application is also still kind of rough. Like people don't like that. Like people are willing to tolerate banner ads on websites that they scroll past. But if there's an ad like inside of an application that you're actually like clicking around in and trying to use, like that is really jarring and people really don't like it. That being said, if you want to try to keep us running, it's patreon.com/armsperson. Please donate.
Actually, I'm going to subscribe right now.
Excellent plug. Excellent plug. All right. I'm kind of out. Like, I know a lot of my questions are superficial, but that's only because I don't understand the background to developing a website and that. So I guess amongst yourselves, maybe you guys could kind of talk about, obviously there's the databasing side that you have in the background, which is to take all the data and to parse it. And then he said, try to gel it together to make what you guys need to use. And then there's the front end that this is what we see, which is how that data gets then represented. It's amongst yourselves though, like what's the technological pieces there? What's something like if somebody's like I feel like a 1500 rated player trying to talk to a rank 1 and trying to understand some very fine nuances of arena play that I just can't grasp right now. But what's the pieces there? What's the technological side? If you want to open up the hood and show the engine.
Yeah, sure. So basically, for Murloc, there is some how I call that, maybe some bots. I created some bot that like twice a day go fetch the data of the leaderboard, reconstitute everything to have like clean data, and then put it in a database.
Okay.
So this is on the server side, and then you have the part who serve the website, and the part my own API that get the data from the database and then put it on the website. And the thing is like everything is on the cloud, and more you have user and more it costs money actually. So as a developer, you have to, for Murloc at some point, I was like a little bit freaking out because I was starting to have like pretty decent amount of user and the infrastructure cost started to skyrocket, So at that point, you're like, will I be able to continue paying for the server or you have to figure out monetization? So for a website like the more mainstream stuff is ads. I try with Patreon too, but I don't know how it works for you guys, but Patreon for me is like I have some Patreon, but clearly this is clearly not enough to keep things running, at least for Murloc. And this is understandable because like WoW player already pay a subscription, then they have to pay like third-party service. So So it's kind of hard to ask like for subscription on the top of the
Yeah.
web subscription, you know. But yeah, you have this part like server side, which is pretty costly. So if you don't like trick and like use the modern technology of like, for example, the CDN, infrastructure costs can be very out of hand pretty fast if you're not careful. It's like a simple line of code or a simple log you let into the server can cost a lot actually. So you have to be very careful with this.
By the way, Max, is there a reason why you didn't go with the bare metal service like Hetzner or VH?
Yes, the reason is because for when I was working in the Silicon Valley, it was always like AWS or Google Cloud. So I'm pretty like used to work with this. But the thing is like I'm moving a lot. It's like in terms of location, it's like having something on the cloud is like make things like more easier for me to manage actually. And since in the past I work in cutting infrastructure costs in one of my previous job, I thought I could like handle that, but I have to be very careful. Yeah.
So using what you already knew, basically. So
yeah.
Okay.
I mean to have Murmrock running, actually, it's like it's all my experience that I have when I was working in San Francisco that are behind and help me to handle this thing and like keep the costs like in line with what I can like do. So it's something that is it's way above, not way above, but it's more complicated than just like create a website and deploy it somewhere. You know, it's way more stuff to handle actually.
I understand.
No, seriously, after like looking at the bill at the double AWS bill at my current day job, it was really like really easy for me like to convince myself to go with the bare metal instead, because the cost of the clouds they are so unpredictable, can be so high.
Interesting.
It's like basically in the cloud, every request that you make, every data that you serve directly, you pay for it. So more you have user, more you pay.
There have been horror stories of like some services like getting like to $20,000 bill or something like that after like some user search.
Holy moly!
So it's crazy.
How much does that? How much does it cost to have your own server then?
Now, the bare metal actually is much cheaper. Like on Ceramate, we only spend around $200 each month, but we get like a really good piece of metal. And yeah, if you go with Hessner, I think it would be even cheaper. So, yeah. That's why I think that bare metal, even though it's really, you have to do everything yourself. Like there is no one-click deployment stuff. But in the long run, especially like if you bootstrap in a project, I think the bare metal is much more predictable, and overall you're gonna spend like much less in the long run.
Fair.
Well,
yeah.
For an idea, it's like at some point in Murloc, I was over 1,000 per month in infra cost.
Whoa.
Did some work, so now it's pretty stable. It's around 200, 250. But I have to trickle and find some way to reduce all of this actually.
Yeah,
that's nice.
That's $800 savings. I mean that's impressive. But wow. Arms, I haven't heard from you though. Do you have anything under the hood there that you want to?
Yeah, it's more of a question of trying to figure out where I start. There's quite a bit under the hood. Obviously, like we're not uploading videos, so we don't save those. So those are not on a server. Those are free. The most expensive part for us is just storing the actual combat logs. Which, if you ever look at the actual combat logs, even for a single match, they could be like 10 megabytes. And, towards the end of Shadowlands, we had, I think it was a little over 2 million of them stored. That was too many. We were paying, I think it was like $250 a month back then, but we spent a lot of time getting that way down, to where we just really limit what we store and limit what we're keeping for the long term. And now our bill is like in a really reasonable spot for how much we're doing. We're on Google Cloud for what that's worth. I think we probably could have gone bare metal. There's really only one really specialized thing on Google Cloud we use called Firestore, which just some of the queries that you can do for the data were really helpful for our search tools.
Interesting. I guess does having it on Google Cloud or having it in the cloud, like, does that make it more reliable as well rather than being on bare metal? Like, because it's not like Google goes down.
If like Google does go down, for sure.
What?
And it's like most of the outages are stuff you messed up. It's not Google going down. So like you get to keep those whether or not you're on bare metal. And if you want to have like multi-region availability through Google Cloud, like you're going to end up really paying a lot. And that's like you basically, if for every 9, like if you want to have 99.9% uptime, it's, X dollars. If you want 99.999% uptime, it's like 10x those dollars. Yeah. So that part really does not scale. But that's also hard to scale in the bare metal.
Yeah, that's true.
Do you guys have your sites go down very often? Max is shaking.
Not really, actually.
My stuff's tight.
Oh, it's fine. The thing that is down is the WoW API because it makes our data down. Actually, it's more that.
Oh yeah.
Fair. Okay. Does Ceramate go down often? I don't track it.
Actually, because of the issues, actually no. Yeah. Also, the Blizzard API issues don't really affect us too much because, like I said previously, I really did put a lot of effort into making everything like reliable, fail-safe, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But there's one thing that we still have, like this tiny downtime, like which is like less than a minute every time we deploy a new version to production, which is kind of due to the fact that we still use like Docker Compose deployment, and I really planned like to migrate to proper Kubernetes so we could mitigate that completely and do actually zero downtime deployments. So that would be actually great. So yeah.
I mean, that's a minute downtime is better than Blizzard some days. So I mean,
yeah, but it's still like this even a minute downtime, it still causes like some disruptions to users, and some background processing also like stops for a minute, and that's unfortunate. But overall, like the Ceramate, at Ceramate we like. There is a lot of background processing happening. Like, for example, we handle, there's around 300 messages that we handle each ladder update. So you would say that it's around like 10,000, 100,000 messages each hour. So yeah, like there is a lot of stuff to handle, to process and save and to present. Especially like your highest achieved ratings. Like for example, the Blizzard API only shows your highest ratings for 2v2 and 2v3. For any other brackets, including the shuffle, you have to keep track of those yourself. So that means like every ladder update, every those 300 people, you need to get their ratings, check if it's really highest, and then save it or not, or depends.
Wow.
Or toss it, yeah. So it's really a lot. So
100,000 messages every hour.
Yeah,
the ladder's actually that busy?
It's on average.
Wow.
Well, yeah. I mean, especially like if you open and go in the Ceramate, you would see like, for example, we have like almost almost 200,000 people playing shuffle, and that's only one region. Don't forget, we also have to serve like two regions, both EU and US. So yeah, like especially like when those ladder updates stack on top of each other, like there is a lot of messages and there is a lot of stuff to be processed, like activity, then stats, then games history, then everything else. We have over like 40 parallel workers like doing all that stuff. And still like it actually takes like around like 10 minutes to actually sort everything.
Wow.
But yeah, but this is what allows us to deliver like the fastest ladder updates across any other site.
Sorry, you said EU and NA only, but what about China, Taiwan, and
We
Korea?
currently don't support those, but
Okay.
we might in the future.
Okay. But you can get that data from the API, right?
No, I mean the data is there, kind of for those regions, but like it's basically a trade-off. We kind of wanted to make sure that everything works perfectly well for the two main regions,
Fair.
and then once we basically figured everything out, we might add some additional regions in the future.
Okay. I guess because I know China was shut down there for a while, but they're going to be coming back here shortly. Do you guys get data? Is that from Blizzard or does that come from Tencent? I think it's Tencent.
It's from
Blizzard.
the Blizzard API.
Okay.
But I don't know why. It's like when I released Murloc, I was supposed to support China too. But somewhat it was not working, so there is some different stuff to do, I guess. And at that point, I was like, yeah, it doesn't work in China. Well, I'm just gonna do US, Korea, and Taiwan.
Fair. I see you bobbing your head too there, Arm, so I'm assuming the same thing.
I mean, WoW Relogs will work in China, but you won't see your achievements.
Unlucky.
Touche. All right. Okay, last question. I love to ask this always. The one thing you would change. So, unlimited money, unlimited influence. You get to tell Bobby Kotick what to do, that kind of stuff. I'm going to make this fairly broadband, either between the website stuff or the API, or even just World of Warcraft in whatever part of the game you want. You can change one thing, but only one thing. What would it be? No, doesn't matter how ridiculous it is. Doesn't matter what the cost is. It will happen. Max, I'm gonna look at you first. What's one thing you would have them change, or one thing you would
Honestly,
change if you could?
It's in the game. It's like I grew up playing role-playing games such as Final Fantasy, and something I really like is like those very dynamic combat music. So Warcraft have a lot of very epic combat music, so if somewhat they can do something similar in the game for the boss at least, that will be like a pretty nice addition in terms of like vibe in the game.
Nice. Some new combat. I like it. All right. Arms, only because I can see your face.
Yeah, I think mine is definitely on the expensive side, which is like, I think the game's biggest problem is like new players are so lost. And the one thing that I really would like to see is like spell signaling changed, in the sense that like when you use combustion, like everyone in the match knows that you use combustion because it makes like some unique sound or has some unique graphic. Like that's one thing I really miss from Overwatch, was like when a hero used their ult, like everybody knew that hero was ulting. And I think that's like causing most of the like weak aura problem, where it's like, oh, you have all this stuff to track, but it's like, dude, that's only because when he uses combustion on the other side of the map, I have no idea. Like I can't see the time. My eyes like literally are not good enough to see the little fire that lights on top of him. I have to use the weak aura to know that he combusted. So that would be what I would argue for the most. And I think the audio cues especially could go a long way, since I know the visual field is already very, very crowded.
I think it's pretty reminiscent that one of Asmongold comment about the game kind of is very complicated, and the fact that you need all those weak aura is kind of an issue in itself. So yeah, definitely will be a super good idea to have like this kind of hint, especially in arena.
You're not wrong. And they often speak about how important audio is in the game. So I like it. I like it. Okay. What's your change?
Well, it's actually hard to decide because, like, as a developer, I would kind of wish them to fix their API, but as a player, as I think I would have really want them to actually get rid of that cross faction barrier, like like when in the outside world.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's currently it's a bit hard for RP people to do stuff cross faction. So yeah, and like without the barrier, it would be so much easier to do.
All right.
Because yeah, there's a lot of potential in roleplay and WoW.
All right. So no more faction barrier, better sounds, better music. What I want them to do is I want them to put in the API is the person's BattleNet tag with the character name. So then we actually know who's playing what as an alt. That's what I want to do.
I think you can really do that.
Leave that one right there. I think you can figure it out, but I don't think there's actually a known way that you can know that I'm playing my 5th warrior at 1400.
Maybe not officially, yeah.
Yeah. That's the one thing I would change. In the meantime, we are going to get into the news and roll this out.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
All right. News. I think I'm a little bit early on this, but there is a... I just lost the video for Arms and Max. Weird. While we get that back, I am going to just keep talking. They're back. That was really weird. Okay. So break the meta. So Raider.io likes to do this every once in a while. Usually at the end of a season, they call it the break the meta. It's a Mythic Plus unofficial tournament, if you will, where teams have to try and push keys in non-meta classes for the Mythic Plus. So if anybody's interested about that, you can go over to Radar.io and check it out and see who is leading that. They actually did a stream over on the Visage community Twitch, which was pretty cool to watch. Watching, I think it was... it's really interesting watching people trying to crush a dungeon using less than ideal classes and specs. I'm just gonna say it like that. It's pretty interesting, but it was good. It's always a fun go. Yesterday and today, depending which region you're in, 11.0.2 went live. So this is the update to the pre-patch, leading now into what's going to become the War Within. So in that, there was a number of updates that went live. I can't get into them all because we'll be here for another hour. Couple things that jumped out at me. One specifically, so in the PvP section, you'll notice that there's a whole bunch of removals. There's been some tweaking, but definitely a bunch of removals of historical tuning. So I found it interesting. It looks like they're starting to reset some more classes to see where they sit, and then they'll probably bring in some more tuning. One that really jumped out at me was for monks, Earth, Wind, and Fire, where you summon the alts. Those ghost alts can't be CC'd anymore. So no longer able to freezing trap or ice nova them or anything, which was something that people used to do. And I remember was a thing for one of the 2 last expansions. So that one jumped out at me for sure. But if you want, go ahead and take a look. Definitely there's a bunch of changes that are in the PvE section. A number of them are not implemented for PvP. One that a lot of people are speaking about was in the rogue section for PvE, said that I think it was kidney shot got extended to 8. It could go up to 8 seconds. That's not in PvP. That's not going to happen in PvP. Yes, it has a 30-second cooldown. No, it's not going to be 8 seconds in PvP. It's still going to be 6. So don't worry about that. Anything else in there jump out? Anything jump out to you guys? I'm sure you guys all studied these notes as well. You're obviously well versed in all the changes every time, right? Yeah. Okay.
Only when the site breaks.
Only
Yeah,
when
not
what?
really.
Only when the site breaks.
Oh, only one the side. Okay.
Yeah.
Touche. Another thing that happened was so currency transfers were shut off as part of the warband thing when 11.0 first went out. They're back, including the honor transfers. So in order to use it, all you have to do is go to the alt. That character has to have at least some of the currency, though. Same thing goes with any of the currencies that you can transfer now. So take your alt, run it into a BG, die a few times, get at least one honor point. Now it shows up on your currency grid. Click on it, and then you can ask it, and you can transfer honor. There's a 20% tax on it. So if you send 1,000 over, you only get 800. I think that maths out. Anyways, but yeah, you get the idea. Either way, it's much better than buying tokens and mailing them and all that other stuff. So
What was the tax on the tokens? Is that more or less tax?
I think it was 15 or 20%. Somebody was saying that it was 40% originally when they put it in, and then it got reduced to 20% now. So I think it's still reasonable. I think farming honor on your main and then transferring it to an alt is very reasonable.
Yeah. No, I'm
reduction.
super glad that's in the game now. I hated using the boxes, and it was even worse when you couldn't transfer it at all.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the boxes wasn't so good.
Yeah. Well, this at least is a neat way, and I like how they're using the war bands for that, which is a great idea. I think the other, and I'm going to jump a little bit. So there's another one here that is the currency reset. So, and this is important only because we're just talking about honor. So they're going to reset currency on the 22nd. So honor is going to reset on the 22nd, and it's going to be dropped. The cap's going to be dropped down to 4,000, only for that initial early access part. And I think the idea is that they don't want people to like be able to farm and bring up and have, start the war within with 15,000 honor. But that also means that you're only going to have 4,000. So if you're going to ship it around, it's going to, good luck with that. That said, another thing is for the war mode gearing. So trophies of strife aren't going to exist anymore, no longer required. Those only going to be bloody tokens. And they're going to have 2 tiers of war mode gear. And the tier 2 is purchasable from a war mode vendor with bloody tokens. And the tier 1 gear, which is lower gear, you're going to get through just war mode activities. So go out, do the world quest, get the tier 1, go to the vendor, upgrade, or just buy the tier 2 stuff, which is pretty good. Yeah. So I think those are the 2 things that I think were tied pretty close together and important for PvP news. And if anybody hasn't seen, there was a recent WoWcast that was just published over on YouTube. So that's with Linksy there from the community management team talking to Morgan Day and a couple other, I think an engineer and the UX designer talking about War Within and some of the changes. I'll be honest, not a lot of news as far as PvP. The one thing I will highlight is Morgan Day pointed out that he actually likes to play, he used to play YOLOs a lot. He loved just hopping in and doing no voice YOLOs for RPGs. And now he's going to be doing Battleground Blitz, rated Battleground Blitz, because it's essentially the same thing. And just go in there and have fun and play the game. Couple other things. Up and coming. Shoot, I guess that should have been in events, but maybe not. Speaking of the Visage community, they're going to be hosting a WoW roundtable for the War Within, and that's going to be coming up here very shortly, if I'm not mistaken. It's going to be here on the 19th, starting at 7 p.m. Eastern, and they're going to be talking about raiding, Mythic Plus, and PvP, and kind of what to expect and how to get yourself into, get ready for the end game content that's going to be happening in the War Within. And our friend Cherry is going to be participating in that as the person speaking to PvP. So highly recommend go and give that a listen if you are, if you've been out of it for a while and kind of want to get into it. And yeah. And last but not least, this is one that actually just got added in last minute. There's a new website. So of all the websites you guys have, there's another website that's actually coming out, and this one's called wow-mate.com, and it's for looking for group. So it's to help people find teammates for PvP and get into it. So a link for that is going to be in the show notes. But again, it's pretty simple. wow-mate.com, and you can log in using your BNet app. So you just link it to the BNet app, and then it just pulls all your characters, which I think is pretty typical for a lot of sites like that. Alrighty, that was it. That was all. That was really fast, actually. And I didn't even get you. I'm sorry. I told you guys you could talk, and I didn't shut up. Anything about any of that you guys want to speak to before we end the show?
I mean, I think I'd like to give a shout out to like the Blizzard team for the gearing in Dragonflight, and hopefully the War Within as well. Because like if we had done this podcast back in Shadowlands, like my one thing to change would definitely have been the gearing, and I think this current system is so much better than what we had.
I fully agree, and it's true that as far as I can tell, gearing is going to be exactly the same. It's going to be
except no more Sparks of Life.
You
won't need them. That was my understanding.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if we're gonna, because they're improving on the profession side, and we need the Sparks to use the conquest trophies to make profession.
Oh,
gear.
we don't get trophies, but you still have Sparks to get your bloody tokens. Okay, dang it. All right, that's my new one thing I would change. No more Sparks of Life quests.
Yeah. Because I'm assuming you still need Sparks to use the trophy to turn a piece of crafted gear to PvP scaling.
Well, the trophies of Strife are gone.
Yeah, but that's for the world PvP token gear, which didn't get to conquest level. It was 3 levels below conquest.
Yeah, wasn't that what the old Sparks of Life gave though?
No, Sparks of Life was used with your conquest trophies to make your profession, the crafted gear, scale with PvP. You had to
Those
use your
were the trophies of conquest, weren't they?
Yeah, so you bought your trophy of conquest from the vendor. You had your Sparks of Life, or your Sparks of Awakening, or your Sparks of Dragon, or your Sparks of whatever.
I mean the weekly quest for Sparks of Life. The one where you're like digging up dirt all the time. Yeah.
Oh. Well, you didn't PvP for that?
Not every time.
No. Okay, I didn't either. That's okay. That's why I'm laughing. Yeah, you're right. Okay, so I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be a weekly for bloody tokens. That's a great question. Oh, honor level. Okay, yeah. No. Okay. No, somebody's saying no Sparks, but there's still a weekly to get bloody tokens. Okay, so the Sparks of Life quest is going to. You just don't need to do it to get trophies. You just need to get bloody tokens. All right. Wow. For some reason you said Sparks of Life, and I was thinking the Sparks for the.
Yeah, there were a bunch of things called Sparks. Yeah, it was very very overloaded word in Dragonflight.
It was a Sparky expansion. Not gonna lie, it was yeah. All right. Before I give you guys a platform to just like pimp yourselves out to the internet, is there anybody you'd like to shout out? Starting with OK. A team member, a community member, your mom.
Well, my mom. Yeah. Actually, hey mom. No, actually, I would really like to shout out like to my partner, like to Slava, who's front end dev on the Ceramate. He's really helped me out a lot, and basically he was one of the reasons why Ceramate was possible in the first place. So I really appreciate all his work. than he does. And then, like it's really like great to work with him as well. I also want to shout out of course our current guests here, like Arms Person and Max. You guys are completely awesome. I would say so we somehow gathered the most awesome, really my favorite project authors somehow, because I really am I adore Morlachio. I think it's a really unique piece of work, and of course the way it was created, in a world dominated by JavaScript, there is to see a front end written completely in Go in its own framework. I mean, it's completely nuts. It's really insane. And of course, the WoW Arena Logs is actually, like I said, is really completely undervalued application, and I think it really has a insane potential in the future. So, and I mean, to be able to parse all those combat logs efficiently and and build all those player placement map, it's again it's beyond expectations, and it's really great.
That's awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I don't. You do my job for me, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
That's great.
You're welcome.
Max, is there anybody you want to shout out?
Yes, there's a couple of person I would like to shoot out. The first is, I'm gonna do it again. We kind of bitch a lot on the Blizzard API, but shoot out for that, because without them we could not do and build these things that helps all the WoW player. And I felt very grateful that by putting those data online, they enable us to build that thing. So big win for that.
Awesome.
Second group of people I would like to shoot out is people on Instagram. On Murloc, on each page, I have a banner where I use Transmog from the community that I put into a AI cartoonizer, and I have some very awesome art because of people who post Transmog on Instagram, such as Genesis Woe, Mo Green. Sorry, I cannot quote everyone's, but shout out to them. They're doing awesome mugs. It's super good. And then, well, it's not a shootout. It's more cheers up to you guys. What you're doing is super cool. It's very inspiring to have all these people who create this kind of platforms. And I think it's really helped to build that community around the game. So what I would say is whatever happened, just continue to do what you're doing, and good luck with that.
You guys are awesome.
Yeah.
Arms, can you follow up on that?
I can try. Yeah, I mean, I guess I'll start for a shout out to all the site creators who didn't make it here today. There's a ton of great sites. Ceramate and Murloc are two I use all the time, so I'm super appreciative of those. But there's so many out there now, and it's amazing how many developers we have really trying to make this stuff work. The biggest shout out I can give is to my co-creator at WoW Arena Logs on Reddit. He's u/a tiny little shell. He's put in hundreds and thousands of hours into this project, and without him, it would not be here today. So huge props there. And probably the final one is just a big shout out to all of our patrons who are really keeping the lights on over the years. We would not still be running if we didn't have constant patron income.
That's gotta love the Patreons. And yeah, I was going to do a shout out to you guys. The reason why I called this website or this episode the Meta Developers is because literally you guys develop your websites help develop what the meta is each season. I think it helps provide that information for people to figure out what they're going to play and what they're going to do, and yeah, a little bit of the flavor of the month, sure, but I think Without you guys, a lot of people would be still floundering in the dark trying to figure out every season what they're doing. So kudos to you. Okay, time to pimp your stuff. I'm going to do reverse here, starting with Arms. Where can people find you? Where can they find your stuff?
Yeah, check us out at wowrenalogs.com. We do VOD recording, match analysis, log uploads, log parsing, all kinds of awesome stuff. We'd love to have you there. You can message me on Reddit. I'm u/armsperson, or you can join the WoW Arenalogs Discord, which is easily found from our site.
Perfect. Max.
Well, Murloc.io. Come talk on Discord. Also, I'm pretty active on Instagram too. Send me your mugs. Yeah.
All right. Simple. Okay. You're the ringer.
Well, yeah. So basically, it's ceramate.com. So that's and also active, kind of semi-active on Twitter, which is like /Oquinza, just like my account username, and also active in the Ceramate Discord. So if you have any piece of feedback or suggestion, or if you just simply want to hang out, just join us. The link is in the footer on ceramate.com. So just join up and we could have a chat.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for joining us. And for anybody who's still listening and wondering where they can find myself or the show, you can tweet us directly at technically_PvP on X. You can email us at technicallypvp@gmail.com. And you can also go over to the Bonus Roll Productions Discord. The link for that is under community over at the website bonusroll.gg, where if you go there, you also find our podcast directory that includes our show along with a number of other Blizzard and World of Warcraft podcasts. And guess what? It also has a review system, so you can go over there and tell everybody what you think of their shows. 5 stars is appreciated. Anyways, links for everything we talked about is going to be in the show notes. I want to thank everyone for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.